I'd like to begin with a warning. This video contains no news. Well, technically, that's a lie because there's a smidgen of it. There's a quote from Lopetegui. However, I wish to have a natter about something that's been on my mind for over a week now, and it's off the back of something Lopetegui said in his pre-match press conference ahead of that game against Ipswich Town. It had me a little bit concerned, but I wish to wait to discuss it for two reasons. First of all, I wanted to see how the game against Ipswich Town played out, because how we played that game would mould my opinion and give me a little bit of relief based on what Lopetegui had said, and the outcome has been positive. And number two, it's going to come across a little bit whingy. Now, I don't mean it to, and it's actually, in a weird way, I think it's quite positive, but I think it'll come across a little bit whingy. And nobody needed a whingy Gio a couple of days after we'd just beaten Ipswich Town 4-1. So I've left it 6 days. I think that's long enough, right? But the reason I know it's going to come across a little bit whingy, even though I don't mean it to come across a little bit whingy, is because I'm turning into the guy that 10 years ago, I used to think he was whingy. What's the way to come out of my mouth is something similar that used to come out of people older than me 10 years ago, and I used to think, bloody hell, you ain't half whingy, are you, mate? So let's rewind a decade, shall we? When I used to speak to certain people, and when I say certain people, I mean of a certain age bracket, people older than me, considerably older than me, 10, 15, 20 years older than me, speak to them about football. And I would say that I enjoy Premier League football, because I do. Did and do enjoy Premier League football. And there was a common response sometimes, which is not what it used to be. I'm aware of that, right? But can't really help it. I wasn't born, not my fault. But it would be, it's not, since it moved to all-seater stadiums, lost a bit of the magic. Not the same. And I believed them. I've got no reason to say, I think you're lying there. I don't know. I did not exist in the early 80s. I didn't exist. I was not born. I couldn't relate to it. The only Premier League I've ever known is the Premier League that we've got today in regards to the infrastructure. Certain things have changed, and we'll get on to that. But the all-seater stadiums have been there since day one for me. No different. So older generation, I used to think whingy, because it goes, not what it used to be. Not as enjoyable. Like I said, I believed them. I just couldn't relate to it. I'm turning into that. A couple of weeks ago on Twitter, there was a trend going around, Barclays Men, hashtag Barclays Men. I was loving it. I was watching loads of it. I was searching it. I was searching the hashtag, watching all these clips of people from over the years, prime Barclays players. Steed Malbronk, Laurent Robert, John Arnorisa. I put Manuel Pellegrini in there. Barclays Men. I was enjoying it. But as I was watching it, I was thinking, you don't really see this anymore, do you? The current lot. You think about Premier League players today, who would you put in the bracket of that type of player? The likes of Matty Taylor. Who would you put in with them? And there ain't too many because of the way football has changed. Whingy Gio's coming. It's different now. It's a lot more tactical. It's a lot more system and organisation and robotic, chess-like. It's changed since when I was not born to when I was born, football had changed. And then when I become a teenager, football had changed again. When I was in my 20s, football had changed again. And every time the generation keeps saying, it's not what it used to be. I'm now in that generation. I'm now sitting there going, football, it's not what it used to be. Look at these bangers. You don't get these bangers anymore. Then on the weekend of Barclays Men, Newcastle United pop up with Fabian Schär, bang. Harvey Barnes, bang. Thinking, hello, Barclays Men is back. But football has changed. This is why it's whingy. I'm whinging. Football's changed. God knows what people in the 80s, they must hate this game. But for me, it's changed quite a bit. I don't know what, I couldn't imagine how much it's changed for people. The generation above me, the generation above that as well. It's changed rapidly on and off the pitch, and drastically too. But in the pre-match press conference with Lopetegui, there's a point to all this. Stick with me. He was asked about taking Kudus off at half-time against Brentford. Now, I'm not putting this in the thumbnail or the title. I'm not using the Kudus Lopetegui thing to get clicks or anything. I am 5 minutes into the video before we even mentioned it. Clickbait, didn't. Accusation denied, right? But at Brentford, he got taken off, and after the game, Lopetegui said it was tactical. We needed to play better as a team, and we did play better as a team in the second half, which I agree with, by the way. I do think we were better in the second half against Brentford than the first half, but I just think Kudus was possibly our best player in the first half. All week, there was all these stories, etc., etc. And Thursday, Friday, whenever the pre-match press conference was against Ipswich, there was an opportunity there for Lopetegui to just kill this. Because he got asked about it. It would have been easy for him to say, load of nonsense, I've heard it, nothing to it, right? Kill it, done. But he didn't. He just repeated himself. He got asked about Kudus. He said, football's a team game. It's not about one or two players. It's a team game. That's the quote. I had it memorised before I started recording and I forgot it, right? So there you go. Nice one, Gio. Write it down in future. I would have done a few years ago. It's changed. YouTube has changed. But Lopetegui just basically reiterated what he said, which is it's a team game. It's not about one or two players. So that didn't help the Kudus rumour, but it didn't really get blown up again. Everybody just shrugged it off. Generally, West Ham fans, it's already done. We've already discussed it. But we'll wait and see how it works against Ipswich. And it was fine. Kudus did well, got subbed off. There was a warm embrace between head coach and player as well. All is good. But it was what Lopetegui said made me think, hang on a minute, I want to see some Barclays men. Over the years at West Ham, and it's not just West Ham, by the way. I know there'll be people saying, West Ham, we love a player like that. We love a player with the X Factor. I might put that in the title and thumbnail. Players with the X Factor. Where are our Barclays men? Anyway, I don't know. I'll think of it in a minute when I do it. But over the years at West Ham, we have had those players. Dimitri Payet, Marko Arnautovic, Paulo Di Canio. I don't need to tell you. You're all thinking of a handful. But players that can just do something. Players that were entertainers. Players that could score from long distance. Players that would try something. And it's the phrase, isn't it? He's worth the entry fee alone. That's the phrase that gets attributed to these entertainers on the pitch, which are getting less and less these days. You don't see players like that. I mean, hell, we look at, remember St. Maximin at Newcastle, used to watch him and think, wow, look at him. And he was skillful, but he wasn't that good, right? But you used to cling to him because you were just missing that across the board of the Premier League. That type of player was rare. That's why when Gonzo loves Adama Traore, I sort of get it. I don't think he's a good player, but I get it because he's got that pace and power and he's able to beat his man. It's a bit of excitement. Jack Grealish at Aston Villa. He's been coached out of his game at Man City, really, but that guy was a magician at Aston Villa. And I want to see that at West Ham. And we've got players capable of it. And when Lopetegui spoke about it being a team game, not about one or two players, I thought, whoa, I hope you don't mean your way to make us robotic. Don't lose that X factor that we've got within our players. So I rocked up at the Ipswich game, and I have to say, there was a little bit of X factor on display, and I like it. I don't want to see, and it's about balance, isn't it? It's all about balance. And what I will say in regards to the Kudus thing, we all assumed he was referring to Kudus from an offensive standpoint, which was going forward, he wasn't releasing the ball quick enough, which I'd argue on one or two cases that there is times he could play the ball a bit quicker and he doesn't, and he tries to do a little bit too much, but he's capable of it. This is the big difference. He's capable of beating 4 players in a row. But he could easily be referring to Kudus's defensive game. I don't know. We don't know. There wasn't any clarity provided one way or another. It could be maybe he felt like Kudus wasn't tracking back and getting back and helping out defensively. We don't know. We can only assume because of lack of clarification given by Lopetegui. But what I don't want to see is Kudus stop doing those runs. I don't want to see Kudus not trying to take on 3-4 players. I don't want to see Paqueta not trying that ball over the top. And yes, at times it can be a bit, it's not worked again. I don't want to kill that from his game. I don't want to kill that from West Ham. Tadibo running out from the back with the ball. It is risky, but you know what? I like it. I enjoy it. And when it works, it's wonderful. And at times it's not going to work and it'll get us caught out and it's going to cause us problems. But I still don't want it removed from the game. That little bit of individual play for me as a football fan in general is important. As a West Ham fan, it's important. I want not all our players, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to see Max, well, saying that, he did all right against Chris Palace. I said I don't want to see Max Kilman running down the left wing taking players, or maybe I do actually. But I don't want to see everybody doing it. There's a time and a place for it. And it's about the balance. And against Ipswich, I thought it was good. I thought the balance was good in terms of team togetherness / just that little bit of freedom allowed to our players. Because you look at Jared Bowen's goal, that is a bit of the X factor for me. Was there an outstanding long-range finish? No, but he ran at his man, cut inside and put it in the far corner. I like that. That is an individual goal, and we've always had that at West Ham. Not quite Dimitri Payet against Middlesbrough. We're not going to be seeing that anytime soon. But as I mentioned Lanzini, there were certain players at the club, even over the Jesse Lingard was capable of it. We've always been capable of a banger or two at West Ham. And do you know something? Like I said, we say it at West Ham, I think every club does. I think every fan base thinks we've always had a little bit of this. As you may know, I live in Stoke. And, by the way, if you live in Stoke, can you email me, hammerschat@gmail.com. Just say you live in Stoke, because there's an event coming up, and if one or two of you wouldn't mind coming along to the pub, it's just a quiz. The Mrs. Gio's granddad does a quiz, and not loads of people are turning up at the minute, and I feel a bit sorry for them. So I'm going to go one week, and if some of you lovely lot would like to come with me, but not in my team, bring your own team, bring your partner or whatever, and we'll have a drink, discuss West Ham, discuss football, and we'll do a quiz and hopefully make his night. So email me, hammerschat@gmail.com. If you live in Stoke, or you can come to Stoke. It's on a Tuesday night, unsure which date yet, but we'll sort it. Anyway, I live in Stoke, so I know some of my friends are Stoke City fans. They think it. They've had Shaqiri, they've had Peter Crouch, they've had Marko Arnautovic as well. They've always had a player capable of that little bit of spice. Charlie Adam, not everybody's cup of tea, but I'll tell you what, you wouldn't put it past him to score from the halfway line from a free kick, would you? And the way football's going generally is removing that little permission. It's removing permission to do something outstanding yourself, to become a little bit selfish, to try and do something audacious that almost cannot be pre-planned before the game. And I think you can go too... I'm not against it, by the way. Like I said, it's balance. But I don't want it removed completely. I don't want Kudus's dribbles to be removed. I don't want Jared Bowen not to run at defence. I don't want Paqueta to stop those through balls, the balls over the top of the defence. Do you know something? I don't want Michail Antonio to stop being chaos. He's a chaotic striker, but it works. And it's fun. And occasionally, not always, not very often in some regards, but occasionally, it will produce a moment. And as much as I love a team goal, the ones you remember the most tend to be Lanzini's goal against Spurs. And it's not just because of Pedro Obiang's goal against Spurs. It's not always the ones that get you points. But that little bit of individualism from that player, that is what football for me is about to some extent. It's not just that, but it's a big bit of it. I would hate to ever go to a West Ham game knowing that we're not going to see something from our good players, because we've got bloody good players here. But I'd hate to go to a West Ham game knowing that we're not going to see Kudus running at defenders and trying to take on 3 or 4. Football should be fun. It should be about winning and results, and it is. But I think there needs to be an element of fun as well. And I think sometimes you can go too far. So when Lopetegui made his comments pre-match last week about it being a team game, I thought, well, yes, but there might not be an I in team, but there is a me.